All right, this is our second attempt today to get this video to work. So apparently we had a technical error that killed the last video, so I've deleted it, and I guess I'm gonna have to start again. So right now there are no viewers, which kind of is bad for me, but that's all right. I usually have people waiting. So today we're gonna be talking about Section 8 for the HUD VASH program for veterans. And I'm gonna wait a few minutes for a few people probably to show up, and then we're gonna get into this a little bit. In the meantime, I'm going to put up a few links for you guys in the live chat window. And I'm going to go ahead and pin that up. So this is going to be a live video. You can see it on all devices. And as some of you have already heard me talk about this in the other video that just failed about 10 minutes ago because of a technical error. So I'm going to run through this briefly so we don't have to hear that segment of this part again, okay? Today we're going to be talking about HUD VASH and for veterans. For those of you that are a veteran, I thank you for your service. And today we're going to talk about the veteran program and housing and vouchers and other low-income related wraparound resources. If we're lucky today, this video will not have another error, and we'll be able to move on. So I believe I left off with we were discussing the fact that the government issues 3 different types of payments. One that goes out to the housing authority in your local city, the other being to the continuum of care and housing first, and the third being that it goes out to nonprofits and fourth or other sponsors of the program. In addition to that, you may also be able to make contact with a housing specialist directly at the VA or Veteran Services for your local city if they have that available. So there's a plethora of ways in order to get this. Now, a lot of you are under the belief that you have to be homeless or you have to be evicted and so on. That's not true. The information on the internet is vague. I deal with a lot of veterans, so I understand this. I've done it enough to this point where I know the program well enough. I've talked to VA specialists both at the VA as well as other, and so this is not a requirement. Now, the premise of the program is to work first and foremost for homeless veterans, but it does not mean you need to be absolutely homeless. Okay, you could be imminently homeless. You could just be simply struggling. So there are veteran services available in that arena. I want to talk about a few wraparound services real quick with you guys, and there's not many in relation to this, but also besides the VA supportive services, they have SSVF, which is for very low-income veterans, and so that provides case management and support services to prevent imminent loss of a veteran's home and so on. So that, again, is a preventive measure, and that preventive measure also is inclusionary of receiving a voucher in order to move on with your life if it's not going to work out. So that by itself just excludes the excuse of anybody telling me, oh, by the way, it's only if I'm living under a bridge. Not true. Number 2, the program is highly preferable that most veterans do find independent landlords and independent properties. My experience with veteran run, and it's not the VA that's running these big properties, but occasionally in big cities like Houston, when you have a housing authority that likes to make veteran properties, it turns into project based, and often that is a very bad type of housing for our veterans. Unless you are actively abusing substances, alcohol, and other illegal activities, I've never known a veteran property in itself to be a very good place to go. I would strongly advise you guys that are out there trying to do the normal thing, trying to live your life, to pursue and utilize vouchers for independent landlords, because group living with people that are in a destructive mode and project-based housing is not going to be a very good solution for you, okay? That's coming strictly from experience from other clients and seeing it play out. And I got to tell you, we've got a property out here in Houston. Look, I wouldn't let my dog live there, okay? I understand that we have veterans and that I do respect them. However, we do also have a segment of people, veteran or not, that are always looking to do the worst thing, and that often happens at project-based type housing that is often in relation to that. So just letting you know, be careful if you consider that. We got other allocations of close to $250 million for veterans and other types of supportive services that it can be inclusive of rents and so on. You also have GPD programs for state, local, tribal governments. And these are grants for you guys to use for a number of things, including hotel rooms. So to be frank with you, a HUD VASH voucher does carry more power than the average voucher. I wouldn't say that it beats, but I would say that it is equal to a Section 811 voucher and also that of the 202, Section 202. And the reason is because it's working with people with disabilities and other issues, and it has a higher payout ratio, which means you would have a higher likelihood of being accepted by a landlord versus a person that might be a non-veteran. And the veteran status also gives you high preferential when it comes to if there is a list that you would be considered higher than most people with the inclusion of that. Okay. But being a veteran by itself does not mean you're not going to wait. It only means you would probably wait a little less. It's still, all these programs are contingent on you having a lot of problems. And so the more preferences, problems, so preferences mean problems, the better we typically would be able to get through that system. Now, just because this program is designed by the government and it is a federal program and it's not run by so much that of county employees doesn't mean that it's not convoluted. Anytime that we turn over government money at the county level, things turn to trash anyways. I'm not a big advocate of housing authorities, how they run things, or the fact that they are the primary owners of projects. So I'd always suggest you use great caution. If you don't understand the veteran system as a whole, what it has to offer, its support services, and so on, get with a consultant, okay? Another thing that you might experience, I'm going to warn you, a lot of you guys, you're first timers. You go down to that VA, and the first thing you're hit with is somebody with an attitude that's condescending and frankly doesn't want to do jack shit for you, okay? Look, I live in no disillusion when it comes to veteran services. There are lots of people that do an excellent job, especially at the federal level for you guys. But you should be ready for adversarial conversations, even with veteran and VA services. These guys don't change colors much from being an ordinary housing authority employee to a VA service provider. I've heard plenty of stories where they just run you off and don't want to do anything for you. So, how does Section 8 normal voucher to an ordinary non-veteran to a veteran status? Well, the veteran and VASH program is slightly better. However, you're going to encounter the same shitty personalities and resistance as you would with any of these programs. However, in some of the small cities and smaller veteran service locations, it tends to be a little bit better. Also, you have most larger housing authorities does have somebody as a representative from HUD VASH, okay, trained in HUD VASH, specifically there. Their only job is you as a veteran versus you having to deal with the run-of-the-mill housing authority employee. But again, don't think that you're going to get away with anything less than a lot of attitude and resistance. That is just part of the system that makes it so convoluted, okay? Is there any magic when it comes into getting this any quicker than anybody else? Probably so. The vouchers are better. I definitely tell my landlords to be very quick to accept HUD VASH program participants and those that are receiving funding because it's a little bit better payment than the average voucher. So I'm going to take a look to see if there's any comments. Wow, we got a striking 4 people today watching. I thought there were more veterans in the nation, or maybe I'm just that boring. Who knows? T, greetings again, man. Good to see you. Looks like I picked a terrible day for a video. It doesn't help when I've already made the video twice in 20 minutes, but if you guys have questions, feel free to ask. If not, I'm going to wrap up the video at probably at about 10 minutes because I don't feel that making a video for an audience of 3 people is probably a very, very good video. So I think I'm just going to wrap this up. Nobody seems to be very interested in the HUD VASH program, or maybe they're just no veterans that need assistance. So, all right, guys. So I'm going to wish you all a happy holiday. And real quick, I'm going to talk about one additional thing. As you'll know, I'm going to be moving me and all the cats that I own. Most of you know that I'm cat lovers, and I have a lot of cats. And we will be transitioning to the Ozarks. And I think most of you know that from the movie or Netflix series, The Ozarks. So I bought a forest, a literal forest, and I'm building a home back there. It's going to be a big part of what this YouTube channel will be about. And the reason that I'm making it part of the channel, as I mentioned in the prior video, is because a lot of you are very dependent on vouchers and living through a system because you can't afford it. Look, there are ways to buy property and over time slowly build out your little home where you don't have much cost. And if you're a veteran, you have all kinds of loans that can help you with it, can greatly propel you forward. Okay. So I want you to take it out of the realm of impossibilities and watch me do this. Now, what's curious about what I'm doing in the Ozark is I'm not moving into a neighborhood that used to have houses. This is a flipping forest. Okay. The only thing that I have out there is a light pole, and I'm lucky to have that. There's no water, none of that stuff. All of these things I've got to work through. So you're seeing this. You'll be seeing it as it plays out, probably from the toughest circumstances, And so that would help some of you determine whether or not you want to continue to remain in the housing system as a participant under Section 8 and so on, or if it's a possibility you believe that you would be able to exit it by slowly working your way into this financially to buy a plot of land and a house, not a house, but just building one, okay? Look, when you buy a home, 70% of what you spend on that big, nice home, is you're paying the builder, okay? You're paying for his Cadillac, you're paying for his steak dinner. If you get out there, participate some, about half of what's involved in a house, the cost of it is framing. You save yourself a lot of time and heartache. YouTube is also an excellent resource. So I think that if nothing more, teaching you guys over the last 7 years on YouTube about Section 8 or HUD VASH and some other programs, I think it's also important not to just hand you fish, to teach you how to fish. And to do so, I want to prove that even the most low-income person, even a person that suffers from mental illness and other disabilities, could potentially do this if they are driven. And I have lots of people that have severe mental illness. But one of the unique things about part of the mental health struggles they have is their persistence. And those of you that struggle with extreme persistence, almost at the level of it being a psychotic break, I believe that y'all would do famously with being able to approach the projects. But this will allow you to see the difficulty from walking up to a forest from a dirt road and seeing how all this shit plays out over a 3-year period. Besides that, I think that the channel is stagnated because all we do is talk about Section 8. I've made more videos than even HUD itself, okay? I have a larger library than even they have. See what I'm saying? So I think that we need a curious move and adjustment here to help you guys. So anyways, in closing, I'd like to say a few more things. If you're struggling as a veteran to get through the system, look, don't believe everything that you're being told, okay? Bureaucracy is a real bitch. And the people that are in charge of you, okay, in charge of administering the HUD and the VASH program, often do not tell you the whole truth. And so it curiously works as it is designed to do. If they give you enough resistance, you tell yourself mentally, well, fuck it. This is just too much. I don't want to do it, okay? You see how that works? It works through just the way they've designed it. Only the most persistent would be able to utilize it. And a lot of us are trained from small children that when somebody tells you no, that you never go back to it. You just give up. One of the big things that I've tried to teach you guys, if you know how to read lip service and bullshit from these people and get past it, you understand your federal rights, then the worker that's so resistant goes, well, this is one of them we're going to have to give it to because they are fully apprised of their rights. You guys are walking into this stuff. You don't fully understand your rights, rules, and privileges under the federal code, Title 24, federal regulation, city code, none of that. So you're actually listening to a person that likely just got their GED out of a bubblegum machine tell you that, no, we're not offering nothing. When they, in fact, have just bald-faced lied to your face. You accepted, you hung up, and then you've moved on with your life while you live in a ditch. Okay, so that's the thing about this, guys. Never take that shit at face value. You know how many times my clients have been told no? So many that it's ridiculous. How many times they tell me no? And despite of me knowing that, I've been on the phone with these people and just like an insurance company. How many times do they reject your claim before they actually approve it? You see my point? How many times do they reject your Social Security check before they gave you that Social Security disability? Do you think it'd be any different when you called them and asked for help? Of course not. The first thing, no matter what you say out your lips, the first thing out of their lips is going to be no, we're not doing that. See my point? So if you don't know how to fight this kind of thing, then get somebody in your corner that knows how to deal with these type of people that understand you're right. If they want to say no, then the next thing is we'll fire up a demand later, and then we'll quote verbatim federal law, and then they can make a decision on whether or not they'd like to violate it, and then we'll step it up. Trust me, I'm good at stepping on the gas and putting the heat on these people. Okay? but you cannot believe everything that you see and read. And Google is a terrible resource when it comes to information. It is cookie cutter garbage. That's some of that information is over 10 years old. It has absolutely no relevance. All right. And then you've got people spinning articles. Everybody wants to be a blogger and an article and a book writer these days, but these people have never read an operational manual in their day in their life. They've never worked a veteran's case. They have never actually seen any system operations procedures, data manuals, none of it. But yet they're writing fucking books that you guys are pouring money into, and they don't know jack shit. They've never left that typewriter. Their whole summary of experience is reading about what they've heard and read on the internet. Same thing you're doing, except they're making a book and you're buying it. You guys got to stop and think about this. So a few comments over here I see is, I want out of the HUD, help public housing and projects so much. Yes. So we're going to be doing lots of that because I'm going to show you exactly how to get out of this by what y'all can watch what I do and see this from the hardest possible position. And look, me going out there and buying up a forest and living out there, let me tell you something about that. I don't see that as a problem. See, that's part of my loose screw. I look at that as a project, as a challenge. I don't see that as a piece of misery. I don't see it as a problem. I don't think to myself, oh God, well, this is just another day of shit out in the forest. No, I don't see it that way. What I see it is me exiting one situation into another. Okay. And so you're able to see it for yourself as it plays out on the channel. And I think it'd be an important part of that. So I'm going to take a few comments here real quick. Maya Bezos, I don't get alerts. Oh, so I want to talk to you guys real quick about the YouTube. YouTube does not give out alerts normally. What YouTube does, it's like an algorithm. So 14,000 people I have on this channel that watch what I do, and some of you watch from day one. YouTube will alert maybe 8% of all of my people, subscribers, and that's it. It'll only alert those who think they might even watch the video. And so it's just a poor service. It does not alert all 14,000 people. Don't ask me why, guys. So the easiest way to solve the problem is I make videos on Tuesday and Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. In other words, Texas time. That won't change when I move to Arkansas. At least I don't think the time zone will change. 11 a.m. Central Standard Mountain Time, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And on Sundays, I make it at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Mountain Time, Texas time or Arkansas time. And that's going to be the new schedule all the way through 2022. You don't need to guess. Just make a notation. So beyond that, I'm going to take a look. It says, see if I've been making comments and you do not see. I think you may have more viewers than you think. Could be. I never trust the analytics that I see often on these videos when it comes to talking about these subjects, especially when it comes to Section 8. So you never know if you're getting accurate results from YouTube. YouTube's an old dinosaur still trying to play the game, So, the whole contention of the video was about housing for veterans, the HUD VASH program, wraparound services, and so on. I talked about that briefly in the video. If you guys are struggling to get it, what you can do. I've also been talking about myself and, moving this out there, our office and all to the Ozarks in Arizona, and what that's going to mean for this channel and all the additional things that will be going into that. So, again, I'm here entertaining questions, whether you are a veteran or you need low-income housing or assistance in the other. Now, the introductions I forgot to do at the beginning of the video, so I'll tell you real quick, I am the owner of Section8Consulting.com. You can find those links down in the description of the video. You'll be able to find them in the comments section when the video is done and uploaded. And so you can check that out. I work with about 800 clients a year, and over the years, probably over 10,000. Okay. I work in every state. So it's a federal program. HUD's everywhere. So I don't just service one zip code. That would be a ridiculous thing to do. It's a universal program for the U.S. So I do so, and I've worked across all 50 states as it stands. So I'm going to put up a few links here today. For those of you that are just tired of struggling with this will be in order for you to check out whether or not I would be able to help you guys. So there's the ability to check out the website, to look at the pricing, and whether or not you'd want to book an appointment if you're struggling with this. Also, I'm going to put up one more link. This is for reviews, okay? There are a lot of them. Some of my reviews don't even make sense. People often ask weird questions. And again, I want to introduce my celebrity, Big Pops. As y'all can see him, follow my finger. There he is. he is napping on the rail. And so, like most of you know, I have a bunch of cats. And they're going to be making that great journey with me this summer to the Ozarks. So besides those links out there, Michelle, and then thank you. I think let's talk about real quick one other program that's inclusive of this. We were talking about COVID-19 relief program funding. Some of that's still out there for you guys that are veterans, and you should collect it. A lot of you guys don't seem to understand how to do that. Look, you can call VA services and get that done. You don't need to call 211 or 311. Now, last one I'm talking about is the Homeless Provider Grant and Per Diem Program, better known as GPD program. It's pretty much an assistance program that works with 600 agencies around the country, including Continuum of Care and Housing First. So again, if you are a veteran, there is about 6 different ways to access these services, and they have a lot of wraparound support services. The main thing I want to express as you watching through the video is you need to be prepared for adversity. The VA is run as almost as bad as any housing authority. I don't mean that in a bad way. But let's just be honest. We hear lots about VAs not running very good, okay? So you should be prepared to deal with people that seem a bit condescending, rude, and so on, that, attitudes and all that. It doesn't change any just because you're a veteran. People are just people, and they can definitely be an asshole when you deal with the housing authority or the VA, okay? So I want y'all to approach this, especially if you're having struggles with your mental health and other issues, to make sure you're having your best day when you attempt to go through these services, because it can throw you off. It can spin you. And a lot of my clients have lots of struggles, but it's not an impossibility to get it. And no, do not accept no, there's nothing available. That would be a bald-faced lie. And look, if you don't think the people that work the HUD VASH program at the housing, do you think they want to work every day? Of course not. A lot of them just tell you any old thing on the phone. You hang up and you think it's the end of the day. It's not. That's just normal procedure. Again, going back to the insurance company, why they deny my claim 3 times? Because that's what they do, And so since you haven't bothered, or you don't know how to get access to their policies, procedures, data manuals, your federal rights, your state rights, and so on, you don't even know what your recourse is to this and what to believe and what not to believe. That's really where somebody like me comes in. Because I think it's comical. I had a person call me the other day to say, hey, man, I'm a veteran. I called down there and they just straight hung up on me. Another case, I went down to the VA. This woman just talked to me like I was a $2 trick. Okay, that was the exact phrase, $2 trick. And said there was nothing. There was nothing. The program had ended. I mean, now look, this is a straight lie. No program's ever ended. HUD VASH has always been around. It doesn't end. There's no limitation on vouchers with that. Oh, by the way, HUD VASH does not have a certain number of vouchers. The government can print out as many as they want. And it's like a normal, let me tell you about HUD VASH. It's not like your standard vouchers that have a limited number. When you're a veteran, they can keep printing them babies out. Okay? Bet you didn't know that. Yeah, it's, look, we can keep printing them. So, and another thing I discussed with you guys, if you're going to utilize that program, again, remember that it may be HUD VASH, it may be administered by the VA and so on, but the housing authority also administers it. Do not let them trick you into going to one of their project-based properties. We discussed that extensively. When the housing authority owns the building, it is called a project. Okay, we all know how that works out. When a private landlord owns it, it is tenant-based housing, or they're just privately accepting a voucher. Do not do, or for any reason they offer you, well, we've got a unit over at 2100 Belford Street, and there's 600 crazy people in that building, smoking crack, turning tricks, and everything else. And so, no, I don't recommend doing that. And most projects are viciously bad. I got an old couple I'm trying to rescue out of one right now. They moved in, so they were clever. During daylight hours, there's not a lot of gunshots and killing going on there. But after those people moved into that place, they're in fear for their life. They can only leave the apartment during certain hours during daylight. There's been at least 6 people killed. Gunshots are more than present there. Okay, this is an old senior couple. And so does that, when you think of the housing authority giving a shit about you, do you think it cared whether they did that to those people? No. The lady that got her GED out the bubblegum machine and issued her that project basically could give a shit. So I got to tell you something. if you're going to deal with the housing authority, you let me tell you something. You're dancing with the devil. You really are. If you think those people care about what you do, where you go, anything, you are a case, a file number in that computer. You know, my clients, I talk to them. I actually know your name. And let me tell you something. Nobody here is going to pop up in this chat and go, you know what? I went down to the housing authority and that lady invited me in for tea, coffee, and prayer. She calls me once a week and checks on me. She talks to me like a friend. Let me tell you, there are no stories which exist where a housing authority or HUD VASH program works in that manner. It usually, the stories that I get are pretty, I would say they're comparable to you being booked into the county jail, and that those people will be talking to you in that respect. Now, there are occasionally young men and women that end up at housing authorities that want to do the right thing, but eventually, like most things, they get poisoned and they turn into poisonous people, and they're in charge of you, your voucher, and what happens to you, and whether or not you end up in a neighborhood where things turn deadly after 5 p.m. So, you know, I really don't want to make it sensational because not every city hosts a terrible, terrible area where people live. But I'm about to tell you that a lot of you get bamboozled behind that. Oh, well, they called me. They said they've got a place, 101 North Street. Well, you just moved in. Shit's fixing to get real for you. So, anyways, I'll take a look at a few of these comments real quick. Hit the like button, T. Okay, I appreciate that, T. Stephen Rapoli, the SRO here in SFPA and the PHA Master Union. So yeah, I agree with you, Stephen, on that. A long time ago, I stayed in SRO, and which means single room occupancy. You'll find that common analogy or acronym for places like San Francisco Bay Area, for New York, possibly New Jersey, and parts of Arizona. That's where single room occupancy usually is just a room. It doesn't even have a bathroom. And if you're lucky, it has a sink there. And when I lived in an SRO in San Francisco way back, that's all it was. It was a room with a single window. It had a door. It had a window. There's no closets. 10 by 10 room and a sink that was bolted to the wall. I was lucky to have the sink. Showering was pretty much under a stairwell. San Francisco's crazy like that. That's because even back then in SRO at that time, a long time, it was $800. People pay $5,000-$6,000 to live in a broom closet out there, just like they do in some parts of New York. So SROs are no joke. Kamla, how are you today? Happy holidays. By the way, guys, happy holidays. Merry Christmas for those of you that have anything merry to say about the holidays. I know these are tough times. I'd like to get help for American Indians. Now, that's something I can work with, and I want to give you a short story about American Indians. And I want to be very clear about American Indians. American Indians are not just orange people, okay? They're not just white people. American Indians can be African American and many other races, okay? So a lot of you guys are fixated on what you're taught from the 50s and 60s that everybody's orange. It's not true, okay? Lots of these folks. And not to mention that we have lots of American Indians that originally were part of Mexico, all right? So you got to think about that. So anyways, what the cool thing I wanted to tell you is, when you look up HUD, it says the Department of HUD and Urban Development, and what do we always leave off? Indian Affairs. Why do we leave off the Department of HUD and Urban Development and Indian Affairs? Well, we've forgotten those Indians. Indians that are in America, okay, tribal nations, and I will be close to the Cherokees, by the way. Out in the Ozarks, the Cherokees have lots of tribes and nations out in that area. Oklahoma, the tips of Arkansas, Ozarks, all the way into, I believe, another state, if I can remember which one. But getting back to it, HUD, in principle, for its whole program, was designed originally for Indians, not us. Okay? So I think in honor of our Indians, and American Indians, that we need to remember that is the Department of Urban Development and Indian Affairs. Every link on HUD's website is Indian Affairs. So if you are an American Indian, you have higher priority, and actually it's easier to get an American Indian housing than anybody on the planet. The reason being is we have a separate agreement. They are a separate federal tribe, and it's just not extremely difficult. However, the American Indians do have a lot of setbacks when it comes to the responsibility of programs. There are a lot of American Indians who live in this country in absolute squalor conditions. I think a lot of it has been because of the poor relations and the agreements that were set up a long time ago. But I would be more than honored to help any American Indian acquire housing through a federal system that I believe pays for all of their rent. Okay, you don't actually have to pay anything. Moving on. So, Stephen Pulley, I have ADA hearing my way into the apartment with VASH. ADA hearing, and not quite sure what you meant by that, but I'll have to see. My future friend Dominique Bloom and General Deputy Assistant Secretary for the Public and Indian Affairs. Excellent. So you already have ties with the Indian tribes and its government, so that's good. I think that, I've never done a video about that, and I think that I'll probably be the next thing I do. It's very, very rare that I've ever been contacted by any nation, tribe, or Indian in the U.S. I think only it's happened twice, and it's usually the Indians from. And by the way, there are different types of Indians. There's also Hawaiians. So Hawaii has a whole different separate tribe that's not. I don't even know how that works out, but they are federally protected as well. They don't want the truth to get out. Well, that sounds like X-Files, doesn't it? Don't want the truth to come out. Well, I got to tell you, man, the only way you're going to get a good, clean dose of the truth is sit around and read it like I do for 20 years. It's wild. There's so much to it. But I think the system it's just an old machine, man. Think about it when it was invented 60, 80 years ago. You had HUD and Section 8. That program, each year a new president comes in, they change everything. So you have a lot of old analog parts of the system that have stacked new rules on top of new rules. And this has gone on, and man, almost a century, it seems like. And so what we have is a highly convoluted system that barely anybody can understand. And even at the depth that I've read, over 1 million pages, thousands of manuals going back over 40 years, I've yet to have digested all the information that's ever been written on the subject. Hell, even trying to read some of the operation and procedure manuals that is often underwritten and in charge of and issued by Nana McKay, which writes most manuals for housing authorities around America. There's just so much, and it keeps changing. And of course, pandemic, we keep changing policies because of COVID. We might be the Omicron. We'll need the new Omicron variant manual soon if that ends up wrecking us a little bit. So there's always something interesting to learn. And So, well, look, guys, I've enjoyed talking with you. I know that we didn't get too seriously deep into this. I just wanted to let you guys know there is help out there if you need it. Some of you are research experts. I just want to tell you, you're going to learn the same lesson I learned a long time ago. There is a certain depth of research you can do in relation to getting operation procedure manuals and dealing with HUD VASH. Then you're going to reach a hard roadblock, and then you're going to spend as much time as I did, over a decade trying to do open federal and state requests to compel that information. You're going to battle lawyers and attorneys that would prefer you not have that information, because once you're able to disseminate all these programs for what they truly are, then you'd be able to shoot holes all in the system and then likely get what you want, or even potentially manipulate their system to work very favorably for yourself, which again is a big part of what I do. I'm not saying that I break any laws. I don't do that. And I certainly don't want to do anything that would violate any law. But I think if you understood the system the way that I do, that you would shoot holes all in it. It's kind of like being a thief in the night. I don't address housing authorities unless I can rob them blind of what I need to get my client within the perimeter and bounds of the law. Just like I always tell you guys, look, you commit murder, you're not going to hire a Christian guy to go out there and represent you. You're going to try to find the most seedy, the best you can. And the good lawyer is going to be able to really find every loophole. And that's what I do within the limits and bounds of the law. It's if you have a true understanding, you're well read, You understand how the programs are demonstrated. And then you practice those cases over a 20-year period by dealing with hundreds of different housing authorities. So one housing authority will teach you a little bit of experience. You deal with 20, 30 of them, you learn even more. And then you run a YouTube channel where you have housing authority employees come and visit, some which are happy to see me, others which are not. And so let me tell you what happens over that course of time. Eventually, the employees that hate their job and hate their employers and dislike HUD as much as I do, or the housing authority, what they do is they email me PDFs of the entire operational system for their housing authority. You compile that over the years, over a decade, 2 decades. What do you think I have? Now I've got clear almost 100 housing authority employees at different levels on my Rolodex. Call them. Then I've got their manuals. So you understand now, I don't just compete successfully within one county. I can compete successfully everywhere. Why can I do that? Because I've heard every piece of bullshit that they could possibly sell me to turn me away. And then I've been able to remedy it through experience of dealing with many different housing those. So what happens when you see everything in the playbook? That means the housing authority no longer has any resistance or fence against me. There's no defense against me. That's what happens when you cross through dealing with that many people. There's so many housing authority employees I can call and say, hey, man, look, this is a new one I haven't seen across all 50 states. Can you help me figure out whether or not we can shoot a hole in this? Is there a loophole to be found? So that's the difference between what I do and then people that want to go and write little 25-page booklets and call it a book, or they're going to become the new YouTube star because they've got tips and tricks. There's 3 tricks to a voucher and bullshit. That's what all that is. These people don't have any time into this. All they have is a good talking game and a lot of hot air to blow. They don't know anything. They couldn't produce one manual. And so it's a fabulous joke that they're even attempting to write books or make videos and all the other silly nonsense. So I'm glad we really had that talk. So, you guys are most of you people are educated. You make your decisions. You look at what your options really are when it comes to YouTube. You can look around Google, and then you make your own informed decisions. I'd never, ever need to sell anybody anything. You can make your own sound decisions. If you do need the help and it's a little bit bigger than what you're used to dealing with, then you can call me. You can call anybody. That's the reality. We all have choices. There are hundreds of videos in this channel. Some have successfully made it through half of them went out and got their own voucher. So again, there's a big difference between somebody trying to sell you snake oil and then somebody providing you enough videos for you to actually do it yourself. And that's exactly what's been done. That's why I'm always amused when people seem almost offended to leave a comment, what, I've got to pay? Oh, well, you want me to work for free? You see what I'm pointing? Shit, nobody wants to work for free. Is that a joke? Am I in servitude to the person that needs free information? Look, whip out your checkbook and figure out what you're going to do yourself, because not everybody's going to work for free. I mean, one lady's like, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to call you and I'm going to need you to talk to me for an hour. And what exactly would you pay me? Oh, I thought this was free. Oh, you're okay. Let me call the psychiatric facility because you're having a moment. We're going to have to get you an evaluation because you believe that everybody should work for you for free, right? So I do have to kick those people to the curb. We all know who we're talking about. So anyways, y'all try to enjoy your night. I'm going to go on and go pet these cats. And then what will happen is Tuesday, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, Texas time, Arkansas time, so on. That'll be when it happens. The next one will be the Thursday, same time, 11 a.m. Central Standard Mountain Time, Texas time. And then next Sunday, we're going to be talking about the Ozarks again. And this time, we're going to be changing the game a little bit. We're going to be talking about the RV. And so there's some preliminary things that need to be done before I can actually become a homesteader there with my little forest. Got to cut a lot, electricity, lots of things to figure out. So for those of you, the electricians, plumbers, and so on, I will be tapping your experience. And for those of you that have that kind of professional, you work as an engineer or whatever, I definitely will be looking forward to hearing y'all's opinions about the project. Okay. All right. Well, y'all have a good night. We'll see you again Tuesday. Bye-bye.